Welcome to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about homesteading stuff and life stuff and everything in between. Join me, Amy Dingman, as we explore big questions on a little farm. Hello, Farmish friends, and welcome back to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about real life and homesteading and health and hard truths and everything in between. Today is July 8th, and this is episode 321. Today, we are digging into a topic that's been on my mind a lot lately because I've been dealing with some wonky, weird health stuff lately. And this topic is one that I think a lot of people in the simple living world or the natural living world need to hear. Or maybe it's just something that people would really like to hear someone say out loud about the simple living world or natural living world. This episode is called Food is Medicine, but It's Not a Miracle. Now, I have seen a lot of people, a lot of really good people who are doing all the right things, quote unquote, right things. They're eating clean. They're growing their own food. They're living intentionally. They're staying active. And you know what? They still end up in the ER. They still get some weird diagnoses. They're still wondering what they did wrong. So today we're going to talk about, yes, food matters. And yes, the choices we make matter. And yes, how we live matters. But we need to stop pretending that it's a bulletproof vest. Okay? That's today's episode. And I'm just telling you, it might get a little spicy. I don't know. But before we get to that, what has been happening on the lifestead? Well, we did have two deer walk right into our yard the other day. And we have deer around here. We see them in the field all the time. Sometimes they're behind our house. But these two deer, they walked right in the driveway, right in the yard. They checked out my garden. They were checking out the barn. It was just wild. It was like they had this invitation. And they're just like, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh my gosh, we've never had deer actually walk right into the farmyard. So that was crazy. It was fun to watch them. And what was really funny is the cats, they'd all been kind of napping in the yard. It was middle of the day and they look up and they see these two deer just standing there and they're like, what is going on? So I posted a TikTok and it was just, these deer in the yard and the cats were watching what is going on. So it was kind of funny, but very cool to see wildlife just that up close right in the yard. Very fun. What else? I should be hatching out some duck eggs soon. Been waiting on these duck eggs for a while because this Muscovy duck action takes 35 days in the incubator. A little bit longer than regular ducks because these ducks are not regular ducks. So we should have duck eggs hatching out soon. I actually have 2 incubators going of duck eggs right now. And then I probably need to be done hatching, I need to be done hatching. So if you hear me on a podcast episode saying I put more stuff in the incubators and there's not a specific place those birds are going, I'm hatching them for someone else, you need to send me a message and say, girl, you need an intervention because where are you going to put all these birds? Come on now. Speaking of that, the irony is that I just hatched out all those chicken eggs, right? Got a bunch of chickens growing out in a room in the big barn, soon to be added to where the rest of the chickens are. But I went out the other day and I realized I have a hen, who's sitting on the most ginormous pile of eggs. You guys, it has been years since I've had a chicken go broody. I was like, what is wrong with our property? Because we used to have chickens go broody all the time. And it's been years since we've had a chicken go broody. That's why I just started incubating everything. Well, I go out and there is this hen and she is sitting on this mountain of eggs. And I'm like, girl, I don't care how big you fluff yourself up. You are not going to be able to cover all those eggs. I appreciate the effort you're putting in, but oh my gosh. And it just looks ridiculous. And I'm trying to explain to her, we don't even need any baby chicks anymore. But she's on the job. She's like, this is what happens. You hatch out all those birds and then you know what's going to happen. I'm just going to decide that I need to add some more. So we'll see what happens with that. It's always possible she's going to sit on the nest for a week and then decide this is boring and she's going to go and do something else. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll just, have 30 million birds running around out here. I don't know. Something else, I have been running water for the ducks. We have this low spot. We don't have a pond for our ducks. We don't have a little kiddie pool for our ducks. But we do have this low spot that is in their enclosure, in their outdoor run. And so what I do is I just run the hose and I fill that up and it becomes their little pond, I guess. And depending on how hot it is and how much rain we've had, determines how often I have to fill it. But, so I will turn the water on. I drag the hose over there. I turn the water on and then I let it run. Now, if you're anything like me, you will forget that you have turned that water on. And an hour and a half later, you will remember, oh my gosh, the water is still running. Now everything is flooded. The well is not happy, right? So last year I think, my husband made this little bracelet. And this bracelet is to remind me to turn the water off. It is a little stretchy bracelet. It's got a little laser printed tag on it. It says turn water off. And I hang it on our water pump thing, right? So then when I flip the lever to turn the water on, I take the bracelet off that lever and I put it on my wrist, right? There have been times when I have come in the house and I'm sitting at the computer, I'm doing something in the kitchen, I'm like, oh my word, what is this thing jingling on my wrist? And then I'm like, I got to go turn the water off. I've gotten a lot better at it now. I generally will not make it into the house without turning the water off, but that bracelet is so helpful to me. It's helpful because it's annoying. It's got this big charm on it. So eventually, I'm going to realize it's there. It's not something I'm going to forget is on my wrist. So if y'all have a problem with remembering that you have your water on, I would highly recommend getting yourself a bracelet that's really annoying to remind you your water is running, because the ducks would love it if I would just flood their area every single day. The well does not like that idea. So we got to keep everybody happy. So there you go. That's my reminder to you. All right, so let's head over to the main topic, where we are going to talk about what it really means to take care of yourself in a world that sometimes treats wellness like some kind of guarantee instead of a gift. I have been dealing with some weird health stuff lately. Nothing definitive yet, nothing super big deal, but it's enough to send me back to the doctor, which is a big deal because I don't do the doctor, right? But this was enough to send me back to the doctor and back into getting some tests done and back into that headspace where you start asking yourself a whole bunch of questions. Your brain gets going and kind of spins into a spiral. You know what I'm talking about if you've been there. And as I've sat with all of it, my body doing its own thing, despite my best efforts to, kind of control it, it's had me thinking a lot about how we talk about health in this community, whatever you want to call it, the simple living community, the natural living community, the homesteading community, whatever we want to call this lifestyle that we've all chosen. Because there's this unspoken promise, and sometimes it's very loudly spoken, but sometimes I think it's kind of insinuated. There's this promise that's floating around the simple living world, and that is that if you eat right, whatever that means today, and if you take the right herbs, you take the right supplements, if you grow your food, if you raise your food, if you cook from scratch, if you live simply, if you stay natural, if you ditch the toxins, if you make your own deodorant, this whole list of things, right? You do all that, you won't get sick. Or at the very least, you won't get bad sick, right? You might get sick, but you're not going to get bad sick, right? And if you do get sick, well, what did you expect? The world is poison, right? You're probably still using Dawn dish soap, aren't you? How could you do that? We talk about the right way to eat, right? You got to eat the right way. But what is the right way? I mean, seriously, is the right way vegan? Is it carnivore? Is it paleo? Is it Mediterranean? Is it some kind of biblical diet? Because everybody will tell you that whatever way that they're doing, that's the right way. And you can find studies against or for any way that's out there. And you better decide fast what you're doing, because someone on the internet is going to tell you that the one you're doing is absolutely not the right one, right? And this kind of messaging, do all the right things, right? And then you're going to be healthy. It feels really empowering at first. It gives you something to do. It gives you something to focus on. It gives you a sense of control. It feels like you are taking your health into your own hands, which I guess to some extent you are. But then it turns toxic, because suddenly health becomes a moral issue. And when someone gets sick, the question isn't, how can I help you? It's, well, what did they do wrong? What did they do to get that illness? What did they do to have that issue? What did they not do? And listen, you can eat clean as the driven snow. You can make all the right choices with your food. But if you are drinking from a well on a property that is surrounded by conventional farmland that's getting sprayed all spring and summer and fall, I don't know what to tell you, you guys. You can grow all the organic food in the world, but you're still breathing air, right? You're still walking around in stores. You're still getting bit by mosquitoes that just came from your neighbor's pond full of God knows what. I mean, we can really get into this, when we talk about health, because if you really want to spiral, let's talk about, like, what's in your shampoo? When you took a shower this morning, what'd you put on your body? And then when you got ready, what's in your makeup? And then when you got dressed, what's your shirt made out of? How much time are you spending on your 4G or your 5G phone every day? Is your Wi-Fi ruining your lymphatic system? Should you be grounding more? Should you not be grounding right there because that spot right there is poison? Should you just go live in a mud hut and hope for the best? Like, there's all these things that we think about when we talk about health. And at some point, you just stop and you think, okay, where does it end? Because if we have created a system where the only way to be healthy is to eliminate everything, then we're not actually pursuing health. What we're actually doing is chasing a fantasy. And worse, we are shaming people who live in the real world. Once you buy into this idea that clean food and simple living and all of that is the golden ticket to perfect health, do you know what the next thing is going to be shortly after that? Guilt. Heavy, really persistent, really sticky guilt. Because what happens when you can't afford the cleanest food? Let's talk about this aspect of it for a little bit. What happens when you don't have access to raw milk or sourdough made with flour from an heirloom wheat farm 3 counties over? I mean, let's be honest for a second. Have you been to the farmers markets? Have you seen the prices at some of the farmers markets lately? And I don't think it's because the sellers are gouging people. I have many friends who sell at farmers markets. I don't think they're purposely gouging people because they have to pay for their seed and their feed and rent for their market stall and gas to get there and licensing and the forms and the permits and all of that, right? It's not as simple as just setting up a stand and selling food. But now we've created this weird thing in the wellness world where if you buy lettuce at the store, at the grocery store, you've failed. If you buy lettuce at the store, which, I mean, let's be honest, that's still better than Fun Dogs and like a party-sized bag of cheese puffs, you feel like you failed. Because the message is that you should have bought it from the local farm stand, even though it probably cost twice as much. Or you should have grown it yourself. Or you should have started your own off-grid vertical aquaponics greenhouse using rainwater and goat urine. I don't know. Okay, I'm kidding about that. But you get what I mean? There's no easy answer to the cost of all this, okay? Because cost matters, but time matters, and reality matters. And it's all a very tangled mess, right? So that's a whole nother section of this whole thing. But what happens when you do everything right, whatever everything right means? What happens when you do that and you still end up sick? Let's take a real world example. Let's talk about me. The week before my heart had done its little dance and knocked me on my butt, I was back at the gym. I was eating really well. We generally eat pretty well here at our house, but we were down to, okay, we're tracking this and we're doing this and we're, it's all about the macros and all that. And I felt stronger and I felt clearer. And you guys, I had so much more energy than I had had in months. I felt amazing. I felt like I was on fire. And then, boom. Heart stuff that I haven't dealt with in over a decade decides to throw a little party. Just to throw a little wrench in there, right? And I'm like, what? And then just to make things extra fun, I also had this other random symptom pop up. And one of those things that's probably nothing, but also it might be something serious. So now they want me to see neurology just to rule some things out. And I'll be honest, my first thought when all this happened, I was like, okay, what did I do wrong? Okay, what did I eat? Did I not eat clean enough? Was I overstressed? Did I not try hard enough? Should I have made more bone broth? It kind of becomes that thing. You're like, okay, is this because I had regular peanut butter instead of like sprouted almond butter that was ground under a full moon? Because that's the way that some people will talk. And this is where the wellness world can become incredibly cruel. because it doesn't always say the blame out loud, but sometimes it's implied. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's not so subtle, right? You're dealing with a health issue, and then you'll have these people that'll be like, oh, you're sick. Oh, that's too bad. Have you tried cutting out gluten? What about dairy? What about seed oils? What about negativity? Or, oh, you're dealing with inflammation? You must still be using your microwave or fluoride or blue light. Oh, you had to go to the doctor? Oh, that's too bad. If you'd been doing it right, you probably wouldn't need the doctor. You could probably take care of it yourself. And I just want to say to all of that, stop. Stop, you guys. Illness is not always a punishment, okay? Sometimes it has nothing to do with what you've been doing. Sometimes it's genetics. Sometimes it's stress. Sometimes it's just life. Sometimes it's a random twist in your body that no amount of green smoothies or backyard chickens could have prevented. You can live well, you can eat beautifully, you can try your best, and still your body is not a machine. And you know what? That doesn't mean you failed. Now, I don't want you to get it twisted because I believe in good food, okay? I believe in all that stuff, in elderberry and garlic and herbs and liver. Oh my gosh, I love liver, and sunshine and stretching and all the simple, awesome, beautiful things that we can do to care for our bodies. I think food can be medicine. I think it's powerful. I think it supports healing. I think it strengthens you. I think it fuels you. It absolutely improves outcomes. But food is not magic. Bone broth is not a get-out-of-sickness-free card. We still live in human bodies, in a broken world, in an unpredictable world. And I don't know where the promise came that if we just grow our own food and drink our herbal teas and wear the right natural fibers, nothing bad is ever going to happen to us, because that's not true. I had lunch the other day with a friend of mine, someone I really admire. She's 20-ish years older than me, has always lived very simply. She's always eaten very well, and she's always done that, right? So for as long as I've known her. And she's the kind of person who always kind of felt like the goal, what we're all trying to move toward. And we're sitting there eating lunch, and she says something that just hits me right between the eyes. We're talking about one of her adult kids, someone my age, who didn't want to go to the doctor about a health issue. And she said to her kid, very matter-of-factly, our bodies wear out as we get older. That's what happens. Things go wrong. Go to the doctor. And it was kind of wild to hear her say that, because what you expected from someone who's very natural and very, all about that, you want this list of here's a bunch of things that you can do that have nothing to do with the doctor. But she was just like, listen, we get older and our bodies wear out. That's what happens. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just what happens. Go to the doctor. And I don't know why, but, she said that, and I sometimes you just hear things and you're like, I'm going to need that later, right? And then sure enough, when my own body started acting up again, my heart starts beating faster than it should. I'm not even really doing that much. My heart's beating faster. I'm getting tired in ways that don't make sense. I hear her voice again. I hear her say, our bodies wear out. That's what happens. Things go wrong. Go to the doctor. And it's like there was no shame in it. There was no panic. No, what did you do wrong? It's just this simple truth. We're not machines. We're not gods. We're human. Our bodies do things. Things get worn out. So yes, eat well. Grow what you can. Use the medicine that's in the dirt, in the garden, in the woods. But don't think for a second that those things make you invincible. They make you supported. They make you nourished. They don't make you immortal. And here's something that I've been chewing on a lot lately, and it's very uncomfortable, but I think it's true. At the root of all of this is pride. We want to believe that we've got it all figured out. We want to believe that we are smarter than everyone else, that we've somehow hacked the system, that we've read enough studies, the right studies, whatever those are, we've avoided enough toxins, we've planted enough heirloom vegetables, and that we are now immune to the reality of being a human in 2025. We want to be the exception. And that's like the dark underbelly of simple living. I think we almost trade in one illusion of control for another, because some people think modern medicine will fix everything. Some people think natural wellness will prevent everything. Both are prideful. If you forget that we're still people, we are still flesh and blood and bone. It's all we are. And I have realized through this whole thing that a big part of my stress wasn't even the health issue itself, right? It was the feeling that having something wrong with me meant that I had failed somehow. That people would think I was dumb or irresponsible or like not trying hard enough. And I know that sounds stupid. Like, why would people ever think that? And why is that where my brain goes? But obviously that is pride too. Because the moment that I started telling people, in my family, okay, I probably got to go see a different doctor about this because, they want to test me for some other stuff that might be going on. Once I told people about that and they were like, oh, okay, I felt a little less stress. Like, okay, now it's just an appointment, whatever. It's something I have to deal with. It doesn't define me, but it is wild how much I had built up in my own head just trying to keep it all together. Like there's something wrong with me if there's something wrong with me. I think it's really humbling to say, I don't know what's happening right now. I don't know why this is happening. I think that I did everything right, but obviously something, still is glitching and I need to go get something checked out. That's really humbling to say. And I don't think we hear that enough in the simple living community. I think we hear, here's how you fix it. Here's the natural way you can fix it. And sometimes there are natural ways you can fix things. But can we discuss that without shaming the people that are like, you know what? I think I need to see a doctor about this. Okay? That's humbling to say. And I think in that humility, that's where grace lives and that's where peace starts. Because when you release the pressure to earn your health, when you stop seeing every hiccup or every diagnosis as like a personal failure on your part, that means you free yourself to keep doing all the good things that you want to do without the shame and without that like expectation that's hanging over it. You get to go grow your garden and bake your bread and take your walks and make your tinctures, but not because you're trying to outrun humanity. You're doing it because it's good, because it's healing, because it's life-giving, because you like to do it. But also because you know that someday your body's going to go wonky because it's going to wear out. And that's going to look different for everyone, but there isn't any way that you can escape that. Like, that's the honest truth. There's no way you can escape it. None of us get out of here alive, right? It doesn't mean you fail. It means you're human. So, if food isn't a miracle, if living simply doesn't protect you from everything, if you're still going to get older, if you're still going to wear out, if you're still going to face difficult things, then what's the point? Why bother, right? I can hear that's what some people are saying right now. What's the point? Why do all this extra hard work if it doesn't even make a difference? Here's what I've come to. Because things like good food and real work and a slower pace and a more grounded life, they might not save you, but I think they serve you. They support your body while you're here. They anchor your spirit when things feel completely wild and out of control. And I think they connect you to something that feels almost primal, right? There's connection there. And I think that's a really important thing. And on the days when things do go sideways with your body and when your body rebels and when your body's like, nah, I'm doing my own thing, or when the doctor tells you something that you weren't expecting, you're like, oh, okay, now I have to deal with this. I think you will be stronger going into it, right? Because you've been supported. Your body's been served by the choices you make. You will be clearer in your thinking. I think you will have a different kind of resilience because you've been living in your body. You've been listening to it. You've been working with it. You haven't outsourced everything to convenience or culture or someone else's timeline. Don't do this whole thing, this whole simple living thing or whatever you want to call it. Don't do it because you think it makes you untouchable. Do it because life is short and you want to be present for it. You want to be strong enough to hold your grandbabies. You want to be strong enough to haul firewood when the storm hits. You want to be strong enough to walk the fence line when you're 70. You want to be strong enough to cook the meal and eat it with people you love. You want to be here fully for as long as you are allowed. So yes, eat the good food, move your body, take a nap, pray, stretch, laugh, lift something heavy, hold someone you love, grow things, do all that good stuff. Not to escape the reality of being human, but to honor it. And there's a difference there. There you go. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I know this episode was a little heavier, a little deeper, a little more honest, but I think it's a conversation that needs to happen more often because food is medicine and movement helps and all that, and I have been talking about that a lot lately. I think it can change so much for the better, but none of that is going to make us invincible. You can do everything right, and you can still end up in the waiting room or the hospital or in the middle of a really hard conversation, and it doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're human. So be kind to yourself and let go of all that guilt and keep showing up for your life, messy and real as it is. And remember, the simple life is not about control. It's about connection. It's not about getting it perfect. It's about being present. So there you go. Until next time, keep living your very Farmish kind of life, and I will talk to you again soon. Hope you enjoyed the show today. To continue the conversation, visit our website at afarmishkindoflife.com, find A Farmish Kind of Life on social media, or drop me an email at amy@afarmishkindoflife.com. Peace, love, and bacon, y'all. Stay Farmish.